Hundreds of thousands of students across England and Wales and Northern Ireland. It's the big morning for them. They're getting their A-level results today and other examination results. And obviously many are counting on getting reasonably good results to get them into university.
Well, we're debating whether or not getting a degree is still worth the debt that graduates leave with. But first, here's Sean with the facts and figures. Sean?
Tricia, thank you very much indeed. The price you pay for tuition fees depends on where you live and study. An undergraduate degree in England and Wales costs £9,250 a year. In Scotland, tuition fees are free if you're a Scottish resident and have lived in the UK for 3 years or more. And in Northern Ireland, students pay a maximum of £4,750 a year. And when it comes to the benefits of having a degree, the Department for Education says an average graduate earns £38,500 compared to £27,000 for those who haven't gone to university. However, the average overall debt for university students is highest in England at nearly £45,000, followed by Wales at £35,000 and Northern Ireland at £24,500.
Thanks, Sean. So the big question is university still worth the debt in 2024? Already I've got a message on this. Patricia on email says, I have 2 grandchildren with uni debts of over £100,000, trebling with interest. They rent at huge cost too, and there's nothing left each month, and the family can't help. Well, joining us now to discuss this is business owner Onyinye Udokporo, who thinks that university is worth the debt and offers the opportunity of developing invaluable life skills.
Also with us, we have apprenticeship expert Holly Hobbs, who says that there are better options than university for school leavers who can earn as they learn. I have to say that when you hear the figures that Sean just read out there, I mean...
And this one on the email.
And that one on that email that you just read out, Trish.
Yeah.
It does give you pause for thought. I mean, back in the day, when I was growing up, I and my contemporaries, if we were going to university, we got a student grant. And depending on what our parents earned, the parents chipped in. But there was no question of leaving university with a mountain of debt, which must be very depressing to a lot of kids. Is this really the right system?
I do think we need to change the ways in which we're talking about going to university. So it's definitely an investment in oneself as opposed to a debt. I did 2 degrees, so I'm sure my student loan payback is around the £100,000 figure, if not more. However, I have been able to create a career and a life for myself that means I'll be able to earn so much more than that. And
but there's no guarantee of that, is there? Another message we had was from a woman whose son did an aeronautics degree. He got a first. He's 30 now. He's not been able to break into the industry despite that degree. And now he's basically getting too old to break in. He doesn't have the experience. And he's got £45,000 of debt. For what? But
it's not a debt. If you don't pay it back, nothing happens. You've got to take a chance on yourself. It's not like you're penalised. Martin Lewis describes it in a really good way. It's essentially an additional graduate tax. So it shouldn't stop you from going to university. I think the numbers are important. You do need to weigh up those options, but there are loads of fear-mongering statistics, particularly around going to university.
Can you just explain what you mean about you don't have to pay? You mean you can
Well, if you're not earning, it's only up to after you start earning, I think, over, what is 25,000?
Right, so there's a qualification to that.
Exactly.
If you're earning, you have to pay it back.
But if you're not, then you don't need to feel this pressure to pay it back. And I think we need to start looking at...
I'm sorry, you will feel that pressure, though. All right, this 30-year-old who can't break into the aeronautics industry, at some point he'll get a job somewhere else, his earnings will start coming in, and it is going to come and bite him.
But you will feel that pressure because the wrong information is being fed about how the loan works. That's why I'm here today.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, that's why I'm asking the follow-up.
Yeah, so the most important thing is for people to understand that it's not this crazy debt that you have to pay back, and you're not penalised if you don't pay it back. In fact, you reach a certain age and it gets written off. So you need to start thinking about it as an investment in oneself as opposed to a debt that you have to pay back.
Thank you.
I'm interested... Now, Holly, you didn't go to university. What did you do?
So I was on a degree apprenticeship at a global tech firm.
Is that like a tea... Is it something along the lines of one of these tea sort of, you know, where you do an apprenticeship, basically?
Yeah.
See, I would have liked to have done that. You did that as well. What is your feeling? Would you have been better off? Do you think you would have been better set up if you had gone to university and got a degree?
Definitely not, no. I think I gained invaluable skills working alongside my degree. And at the end of the day, I think that you are in charge of your own skills that you're learning, and university shouldn't be a measure of success for that, I think. And
but it can be a measure of success financially, as we heard from the figures there.
Yeah,
you are, I mean, on average, you are going to earn more if you have a degree.
But is everything about money? I think that's one of the problems.
That's a central question.
Because now they, you know, I can't remember who came out and said, do a degree about a subject you're passionate about. Don't just focus on money. And we're seeing more people getting involved and doing degrees in STEM subjects because they're thinking purely about the money. So what area did you study?
So I was in business management.
Business management.
Yeah.
So what did you gain actually being in situ, so to speak, that you might not have got at uni?
The biggest thing I gained was my network. And that's helped me to start a business now, because actually I've been able to leverage those people that I met and they've helped me within my business to grow.
How do you think we should be funding university degrees?
That's a great question.
You don't have to answer if you don't have an answer.
No, I mean, I think they should be funded through the degree apprenticeship route, and people should be working with an employer and getting their employer to fund it for them, so that they don't have to pay all that debt and they're getting the work experience at the same time.
A bit like the National Health Service. One of my kids, one of their degrees was with the National Health Service.
Yeah.
But then, and with the military, but then you have to actually stay within that service to do that. So why is that not a better alternative? You're actually, when you start work, you've got an actual knowledge of how it works, because you can, many people would say, you can learn everything within a lecture hall and what have you, but it's very, very different when you're actually having to communicate with colleagues and negotiate all of the sort of things that one does really hands-on in the workplace.
So far, this conversation has centred all around work, and university isn't just about that. So in my experience, I travelled abroad. I studied in China.
What did you read?
My first degree is in religion, politics and society, and my postgraduate degree is in education policy and society. So these are subjects that I'm very passionate about. They are quite academic. First degree is in arts and humanities faculty. Postgraduate is in public policy and social sciences.
And did you select them not just because you found them stimulating, but also because they would steer you into the career that you'd chosen?
Yes. But on top of that, it's about developing oneself. University gives you the opportunity to create yourself in a controlled and structured environment. At 19 years old, how on earth would I have picked myself up and moved to China to study without the infrastructure that university gave me? Does the workplace or do apprentice schemes currently offer that opportunity? So far, I haven't seen that.
Well, do they?
I would argue, yes, they do. A lot of employers will have structured onboarding programmes that will teach the young people exactly how to set up for success throughout their apprenticeship. So they won't just be chucked in the deep end. And also, about your point about studying abroad, etc., apprenticeships do still give you that opportunity. Because you're working, there might be an opportunity for a business trip, and you're also earning a salary, which means you can afford a lot of the time to go on these holidays and experience these new cultures. And apprentices do often go and move out with other apprentices or go to shared accommodation or whatever. So you're still building up those same skills.
But what happens if you decide you don't want to go down that career route? I wanted to be a doctor, then a lawyer. Then I thought I was going to work in the professional services industry in the city, and I am none of those things. Because as a young person, you change your mind a lot, and university gave me the opportunity to explore lots of different options.
I think that's a really good point, possibly, to finish on here. It's so important for kids watching this now, one, not to worry too much about the results they get, because you can move on, everything's possible. But two, you can always change your mind. I mean, all of my 4 kids ended up going to uni, but one of them, she'd only been there for 2 terms, basically, for about 6 months. She phoned home one day and said, "Dad, I'm just not enjoying it here, and I don't think it's serving me right. I want to come back and get a job." I said, "Well, then do it." And so she left, and it was the best thing she ever did. So you can always change your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would argue apprenticeships are actually more flexible in that respect, because you can be on a scheme, but actually you don't have to work in that specific department for the whole apprenticeship scheme. You've got more fluidity. You can move around the business. You can try different things. Whereas if you're at university and you're signing on a course, halfway through, you're less likely to change courses, because then you're going to have to pay all the money again.
That's a good point.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
I actually think, as parents, and there's lots and lots of parents watching as well as the kids waiting for their results. I think we'd all probably agree the most important thing is for our kids just to be happy. I mean, we didn't put pressure on our kids to do incredibly well academically. They did OK, but they didn't shine. I didn't care because they were happy. They were happy at school and they were happy in the toy, and that is what life's about.
I think that's important. That and that they don't bring their laundry back to you when they
Well, look, we set a little question for you at the top of the show. We asked you, is university worth it, in your view, in 2024? 20% of you, just 20%, 1/5 of you said yes. 80% of you said no, you don't think it is. That's telling, isn't it? That's telling about how values have changed.
Interesting.
We wouldn't have got that result 30 years ago. No way.
No.
No.
Most of us,
Fascinating.
well, we wouldn't have known what university was 30 years ago.